Hello, everyone. Welcome to Raising Parents, a podcast brought to you by Genes Life. This is a podcast where we unpick the layers of the parent and adult child relationship. This is one of the most complex relationships on the planet. And it's something that most of us don't want to talk about. But today we are very, very pleased to have Neha Kare Kanabar, I hope I got that right, talking to us about her relationship with her parents. Now, there's something unique about Neha. Neha is one of those people who's actually built an incredible community of mothers called Universe of Moms, Unimo. Unimo has over 500,000 members?
6.5 lakh, yeah.
6.5 lakh members across India and chapters overseas. So the beauty of getting Neha on the show is that Neha will be able to help many of these 6.5 lakh mothers to look at their relationship with their parents with a fresh lens.
So true.
Welcome, Neha. Thank you for being with us on Raising Parents.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Meenakshi. I'm quite excited to start this conversation with you.
Brilliant. So, Neha, tell me, your parents live in Indore.
Yeah.
And they keep shuttling between your brother in Montreal and you're here in Bombay. So, you have this long distance remote parenting that you're, right, managing. How does it work?
So, you can say it's permanently a long distance thing because they live majority of the time in Indore and sometimes with my brother. At times they visit, we are 3 sisters and a brother. I'm the eldest. So they keep visiting us in Mumbai also. But yes, it's absolutely long distance. And looking at my childhood, Meenakshi, I was raised by my grandparents more because my dad was an engineer and he was traveling throughout. So he wanted me to go to a convent school, and that's why he's put me with my grandparents at one place. So for me, I think as a child also, I had that distance somewhere, which after becoming an adult, I was trying to, patch it. But because of the, our own family life, our own kids, our, careers, I think it has still stayed long distance.
Did you miss having your father around as a child? Did you resent his not being there?
So I think I've never spoken about this topic anywhere. So I think, yes, I have missed him, both of them, very badly because I was separated when I was 6-year-old, when I joined my first standard in St. Joseph's. And that was a time when everybody used to be with their parents, in the PTAs, in all the annual functions, parents used to be there. And my parents weren't around. And though my Dada Dadi tried doing their best, I think I always had that vacuum. So yes, I miss them, a lot. And more than my parents, I was also missing my siblings because I was the eldest. Then I had 2 sisters who's just a 2 years gap. So we had a very strong sibling bond, which wasn't there anymore. So I was like alone.
So they left you behind with your paternal grandparents.
Yeah.
And while they traveled, and they kept the siblings
with them
while they traveled.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Yeah, because maybe when I ask them today, they say you're the most intelligent one. So we wanted to give you the best education. But well, I think it was also a very conscious decision because when I was born, I was the first child. I was the most loved one. I got a lot of attention. Like my sister was born after, I think, 3 years after me. So during those 3 years, I got a lot of attention from every side because my dad is the eldest in the family. My mother's the eldest in her family. So I was a very pampered child. So for those early years, they tried giving me the best possible things. And I think a best education came along.
So what's very clear, Neha, is while it may still hurt somewhere, but you made peace with it. Because by saying they gave you the best education, it's very clear that you made your peace with it. Maybe not completely, but you're trying to reconcile this.
Yeah, I think any child who will watch this podcast who has been in a situation like mine would echo the same, especially if there is no problem, with your connection with your parents, because I have a very strong, amicable relationship. But today, I think because of this, I think somewhere I grew up quite soon. And also that I started, independent life quite early in my childhood years. And today, when I see or look back at my parents, they seek advice from me because of this setup what we had. So I think somewhere, of course, I made peace with it, but does it hurt? It really does, yeah.
And you spent so much time with your grandparents. Couldn't that also have been the reason why you grew up so fast? Because, grandparents have zero filters when it comes to children. And they
Might be a possibility. You are making me think about it now because my Dadaji was a very, very strict, man, a very disciplined man. And my dad was a very chill daddy. Like he has never even raised his voice on us. And where our Dadaji was so strict that you had those conservative family rules of a Brahmin family where, XYZ rules have to be followed to the T. And I was also studying in a conservative Christian faith.
I know,
So I had a
strange combination.
very
You're in a conservative Christian school, but you came from a traditional Brahmin
family. Again, very
family.
conservative. Yeah.
And so you would follow dietary restrictions at home.
Yeah.
But in school, you would have a lot of kids who would be eating all kinds of meats.
I agree. Even, I come from that kind of a family wherein, taking pride in being a Brahmin was a thing. And like my grandparents or my relatives were very proud of that fact that we are above or we are the superior lot of the society. Where in my school, I was reading something else. I was trying to understand about diversity, about inclusion, about different castes, creed, religions. I was also practicing Sunday Mass when I was, very deeply into my mantras and chanting also. So I saw a very contradictory world, and there I became a little rebel because I wanted to question those superiority clauses. So I think I became a rebel because of these two setups, which are very different from each other, and not having a fallback also in the same time. Like you go to your mother, you go to your daddy in the situations like that. But I think there was a lot of generation gap between my grandparents and me. Like my dadi used to love me to the hilt, and my dadaji was strictly disciplinarian. So, yeah.
So you grew up in a very conflicted kind of environment.
Yeah.
With an indulgent grandmother and a very strict grandfather. Conflict in terms of your cultural identity, your school identity. But I'm pretty sure that's contributed to make you who you are today.
I'm sure.
In what way do you think that's helped?
I think today when I look at, my mother's community, I think I understand from where they're coming from. When they come and share the stories of a small town, conservative background or, very open, liberal, schooling, I understand both the worlds. And I think today when I deal with people, I'm more tolerant because of these, I think environment which has taught me a lot how to, build my own character, how to make my, point very clearly. It has made me a little more confident. It has made me a little more clear in my communication because I've understood it quite early in my.
Has it also made you a little hard?
It would have, but then eventually, as you rightly said, I made peace with it. And the best part during my childhood was that I had the same set of friends from 1st to 12th standard because I was in the same school, yeah.
Wow.
And I think I've been lucky that way is that I grew up with the same set of bunchies who taught me a lot about life. And today also I owe it to a lot of my friends who taught me about anything and everything around the world because they were very well traveled. They were kids who were, coming from a place of, I would say, comfort. So they've given me a lot of, insights into their world, which I think is I take pride in it today because I've learned so much from them in those early years that today it has shaped my personality.
This thing is a very interesting comment. We've had this theme coming through in a number of our conversations about the family you build for yourself versus the biological family. What would you like to say about that?
So today also, when you look at my setup, Meenakshi, like we are an 11-year-old community and it's run by 83 pro bono volunteers. And all these pro bono volunteers were none of them were my friends earlier. They all met me through the community. And today, these beautiful women have helped me build this community to the next level. And in this entire journey, they also became a family I chose, And I think that is the biggest relationship I want to hold on to. As you rightly said, that this is a relationship I have chosen for myself. And I think they have seen my kids grew up more than my relatives or my family would have. They have seen my upbringing, my morals, my value system more than anybody else. So I think today is the time when it's a nuclear family setup and we don't get the privilege of living in a joint family. I think friends are your best go-to people. These are the people you choose to make them a part of your life. And I think we are very lucky that we can choose who to make a part of our life today.
And also, I think the fact that you treat them as equals, okay, when you build a family around you, it's a family of equals. Versus when you look at a traditional family structure, there is a hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
And so this family of equals actually becomes far more comforting and far more embracing than the hierarchies. Would you agree with that?
You also learn a lot through them because they are not scared of calling spade a spade. They'll give you, they're your critics. They'll give you the feedbacks. They'll compliment you. They'll be your biggest cheerleader. So I think, you're right.
So you made a comment about your father looking to you for advice, right? And as the oldest child with three younger siblings, are you in that sense the head of the family today?
Yeah, if you'll ask them, they'll say yes. But of course, I'll come to it later whether I enjoy it or not. But yes, I am. And somewhere emotional dependency on me is very, very high. Like, even if they can take a decision, like my dad is still earning his pension, he's an engineer, he's earned very well for the families. Financially, they're very sound, so they don't really depend on us financially, but emotionally, they are very, very dependent on us. So I think especially on me. And I think after I got married to Hitesh, and Hitesh is the favorite damad, so they are very dependent on Hitesh also. And Hitesh lost his father at a very early age. So he is very close to my dad. And that's why my dad at times, even if he's unwell, he chooses to call Hitesh and not me at times. So I would say he is the head and then I'm like the sub-head. So he's the most favorite guy there. But yes, you're right.
But what about your relationship with your siblings? Has that now become more sort of regular family? Are you close or not so close?
So we are very, very thick. But again, there also I'm more like a guiding force. I'm not a friend to them. I've never been. Though all three of us, like all three sisters are 2 years apart. Like I'm literally 2.5. But then my younger sisters, both of them are like twins. So I think somewhere I've been more looked up to more as the ideal, in the family, someone they all look up to. They all also, love me, but at the same time, the respect is also equally there.
Correct. There's a little bit of that distance, right? Yeah. So that's not a good feeling to have. I mean, it's like you on one side and the three of them on the other because they are closer. Do you feel like that?
No. So basically, the sisters are very close to each other, but the brothers, again, more closer to me. However, again, the closeness, like if you'll ask each one of them independently that who's your hero, they'll say Didi. Okay, all of them. However, as you rightly mentioned, that there's no sibling friendship between any of us. However, my younger brother is 8 years younger to me, like literally 7.5 years. So like yesterday,
more like a child.
You yesterday he was booking Mama Baba's Canada tickets and he wanted to fly them business class and he asked me that I'm doing a surprise for them. So I was the only one who knew about the surprise. Right. So he has to first ask me, in spite of he spending his own money. So that kind of dependency they have on me. And at times I used to enjoy it earlier that, everybody will come to me and ask me. But sometimes, like coming to your last question also, that sometimes now I feel that I've taken a lot on myself.
Yeah.
Because yesterday also when he was talking to me and he was saying, I'm booking the tickets, this is the price I'm getting for a business class. It's with Etihad. And I said, I'm a member with them. Listen, hold on. I'll get you a better deal. And he just said, I'm getting a good one. What do you say? And I'm like, okay, let go. And I was like, okay, you decide, you do it. So somewhere I think I've also created that.
Yes. Letting go is so important. As the oldest sibling where everybody comes to you, you feel you're in control, you feel you're helping them. but in fact, you may not be helping them. You're probably being
Doing
an
ulta.
enabler, right?
Yeah.
And you're actually, a lot of this happens when you come from love, that you think, I want to
It is
do
love and
this.
care. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am protecting them.
Yeah. But very often they need to experience those
Yeah.
knocks.
Yeah. But that's what I've done with my kids also. Eventually, I've understood that this is what I've become.
Ah,
And that's what I do with my community moms. Like, why they love me so much? Because I come from a place of nurture, protection, love.
correct.
Like, anybody who's receiving it will love it.
Correct.
But anybody who's giving it will only realize it when you look inside you.
And you get drained, don't you, Neha?
And you like it like that.
You
It's
like
your
it
comfort
like that.
space, right?
It's your comfort
Yeah,
place
it becomes part of your personality.
to keep giving.
You don't even want to take. Like the sister who's just younger to me, Komal, who's the middle one, she's been always very collaborative. Like she'll come to me and she'll say, because she's running Indore Moms chapter and she knows the community business, she's like, should I help you in this? I'm doing this. And I'm like, no, I don't need that, you know. So sometimes even you don't want to even collaborate. When you need that help, you don't even want to accept or agree to that.
But that also means that you're building walls around your
Mhm. Yeah,
vulnerability.
definitely. And I've done that all my life, yeah.
When are you
That's
going
why
to break
I
those
told
walls?
that you're the first one to ask me this question. I think this is the first public forum where I'm answering.
But this is the point. I always love to ask these questions because it forces you to think. And the minute you think, you actually find solutions. But if you don't think, if you sweep everything under the carpet, and all of us in Indian families have this tendency to sweep everything under the carpet. We deny the worst kind of situations in families. I mean, unfortunately, today in India, there's so much sexual abuse that takes place in families. We deny it, we don't acknowledge it. And this is something, it's important for our mental health, for us to be able
Talk
to
about it. At least start talking.
correct. Honestly, with vulnerable. Now, you were telling me about sending off your mom on a trip.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Okay, I think I discussed with you last time when you came to our office, and that was the time it happened. I was hosted by this beautiful retreat, which is more like a wellness retreat, and I was hosted as a community builder. And I went there with my husband, and it's a beautiful retreat called Shatam Jiva. It's near Gwalior. And when I was hosted there, I saw that it's a luxury, retreat. However, nestled in a 1100 man-made forest.
Wow.
So I loved that place. And when I was experiencing it, I saw a lot of wellness rituals which reminded me of my mother. That, she would love this. And because she has been doing yoga all her life, she's been quite an active woman. So I thought I should, treat her with this one. However, just taking a little, back in my family background, my dad, when he was 41, I'm talking about year 2000, when I was pursuing, I just completed my engineering, I was giving my MBA exams. And my dad is 6'2", used to ride his own Enfield, very handsome man, and engineer, and has built a lot of dams for Madhya Pradesh, India. Suddenly has a paralytic stroke. And this paralytic stroke made him left side paralyzed when he was just 41. And my mother must be 36, 37. And since that time, Mama was always by his side, healing him, taking him to different states of India, countries, just to make sure he's, getting back on his feet. Today, also his fingers don't work, left-hand side, but overall he has recovered well. However, in this period, when my mother was by my daddy's side, we all four were taking care of ourselves. So I assume that was a place I started taking responsibilities more. However, when I was in Shatam Jiva, I thought about my mother, that of course my dad was on bed. He went through what he went through. He was unwell. He was the patient. But my mother, in this entire journey of these 20 years, like we're in 2025 now, in 25 years, she has lost her youth. She has lost her own aspirations. She has lost, she's a PhD. She wanted to pursue a career. She lost everything, or left everything rather.
Chose to give it up.
And if you look at her today, she looks like my younger sister. She's that fit, very beautiful woman. But she's never got to live her own life, like in her prime years, when she would have enjoyed. So I thought that I should send mommy on this retreat. And when I asked her, she's like, all alone. I said, yeah, it's 3 nights go there, and you have to go there. You have to live, it's a very safe place. And she's like, how will I leave daddy? I have to give him his medicines. I have to, manage this. However, I don't know how she agreed. Like, generally, she's a very strong-headed Aryan, so she doesn't really agree. But I don't know what made her say yes. And she goes there after, I've come back. And I was still in double minds, Meenakshi, thinking that maybe साथ में चली जाती हूँ, because how will she take care of herself?
Correct.
Like and I forgot that she is the one who has raised 4 of us. She has taken care of my father when he was unwell. She's traveled with him all over the world to make sure that he is fine. And plus, she's an educated woman. Of course, she's not worked, but she was always a very strong-headed woman. So I thought, let me, take that chance and let her be. And my daddy was jittery because he has always liked her.
Had her
Mm.
by his side, yeah.
So she was like that unannounced assistant to him.
Correct.
And he's so used to it.
Yeah.
And my dad, eventually in these years, have become a little selfish
Yeah.
because he has understood that he wants everything to be managed around him. So all
Absolutely.
servants, all
Everybody is running
Yeah.
around him.
So he never liked that idea. In fact, he called me and Hitesh also that why are you guys planning this? And we were like, we are doing it. So you better cope up. And my sister Komal was with Papa to make sure that he's still at peace. But when Mama went there and she was there first night alone, it was a big luxury room and she was sleeping on her own. And she was like very restless. She called me at around 1:30 in night and she's like, I like it, but I don't like sleeping alone here. And I said, okay, Mama, but you'll like it soon. And then on the third day, when I called her, she was not even answering my call on the second and third day when she spoke to me. She's like, her words, I feel like I'm in heaven. I'm not bothered about anything. I don't know when Bhai will call from Canada. I'm not even bothered about your papa's medicines. I don't care about what the maid is doing. I'm just on my own. And I think she was so happy. She was so joyous. And she just said thank you.
For the first time in 25 years,
Yeah.
she could take a breath.
Yeah. She could take a break. And which the daughter has been endorsing all her life that take
What
a
a-
break. And my
what a
own mother,
What a gift.
my mother, I've not thought about my own mother. Like when we say mothers, community, I think of me as a mother.
Correct.
Why have I forgotten that my mother is also a mother?
Correct. Absolutely. And she's as deserving
Much
of
more.
everything.
I should say.
No, not much more, but she's as deserving of everything as you are. And how was your father when she did this trip?
I don't know, he was
Was
fine.
he upset?
No, he's fine. He was upset only when we booked her. And then later he was fine. So I think he can cope up well. He has a very strong support system. I think his dependency also on Mama is very high, and that's why I think he gets jittery. But I think eventually when he lived those 3 days without her, in fact, I've never spoken to him about this experience. I
think
will,
You should. I think
I'll
you
ask
should
him
talk
hours.
to him.
because he was okay. He wasn't complaining, so I thought,
Yeah, but see, at the end of the day, maybe he didn't complain, but maybe he felt abandoned. Maybe he felt that
yeah, he said that to Hitesh. He said that, why are you doing this for Mummy and not for me? Why are you not booking us together?
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So maybe he felt abandoned.
Yeah, he did.
But now this becomes a very interesting problem because, if you have two parents, one of whom is so dependent on the other, what happens if something happens to the other parent? Today, your mother is healthy. What happens if she falls sick?
Mhm.
Okay. And, then father will be completely bereft.
Yeah.
He needs to also understand that they're both getting older.
Yeah.
She needs her rest as much as he needs
Just because
care.
she doesn't look.
Doesn't mean that she is. Okay. And it's just like you. Just because you're so strong doesn't mean you don't need help. Just because she looks fit doesn't mean she doesn't need help. Have you thought of that?
I think all of us somewhere pretend to live under this pretense that, it's all okay till the time we don't have anything.
It's not okay. It's all okay until the
Then
time it's not
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I think this has become a new normal that, today why a lot of people play victim because, and I'm using the word play because they want that sympathy, that empathy,
Okay.
that care coming their way. Not many times you've seen.
Yeah. No, I've realized this because I've lived this reality with my own siblings. Okay. They dependent on me. I'm the youngest in the family, unlike you. And as the youngest, it just made me feel so good that, my elder brothers, two elder brothers, were both looking to me, wanting support from me. But then I realized that actually by accepting that role, I was becoming an enabler.
Okay.
And by becoming an enabler, you're actually doing not just yourself, but even the other person a big disservice. Because at the end of the day, then what you're saying is, I'm okay. I will insulate you from the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah? Which you can't do permanently.
How long will you do it?
How long will you do it? What about your siblings and you? Who carries the main responsibility of looking after your parents? I suspect it's going to be you.
No, it's unequal, I would say. And Komal was in Indore for a very long time. And in fact, she chose to live next to Mummy Papa's house because she was the only local sibling. Because Snigdha was in Pune, my youngest one. My bhai is in Canada. I'm here. So I think Komal, more or less in these interim years, have been, quite close to them. And she and her husband have been very instrumental in taking care of my parents. Yeah. In fact, I would say it's mutual. Like she has a young son, and my parents take care of her son as well. Because of course they live in different houses, but whenever she's going out for her commitments, the husband's going out, they leave the kid with my parents.
Correct.
So I would say it's interdependable. Yeah.
So you had a lot of time with your grandparents, and you probably had a great relationship with them.
Yeah.
Are they still alive? Or have they
No.
passed?
My Dadaji passed when he was 97, and my Dadi lived up to 85. So lived a great life, both of them. But yeah, they're no. I think I lost them around 7 or 8 years back.
Okay. And what about your kids? Do they have a equally strong relationship with their grandparents?
So Ved and Vyom, as I told you, they were born I've never seen my father-in-law because when Hitesh was in class 4, his father met with an accident. So when my mother-in-law was just 32.
Oh,
So a very strong woman, and she raised 2 kids like Bhaiya, Hitesh, elder brother, and Hitesh. And wonderful woman. Like I would still say, like my mother had a strong bond with my mother-in-law, and I think we all agree to that fact that my mother-in-law was a wonderful human being, and the way she has raised her kids, I think, has inspired me to, integrate some of her parenting nuskhas in my parenting journey. So Vedam never had a Dadaji, but they were very close to their Dadi. And again, because she was such a loving soul that, that she was by their side all the time. And I think it's 5 years now. Yeah, 5 years now. I think we were on a cruise, London to London. I still remember it was Mother's Day, and we were in Spain. We were doing the tour, Hitesh, me, and both the kids. And Hitesh gets a call. Hitesh calls Bhaiya because mummy used to live with us. So my brother-in-law stays separate. And that was the only time we left mummy with Bhaiya because we were touring. And Hitesh calls mama to wish her. And I'm talking about 6 years back. And Bhaiya starts crying. And that day we came to know that mama suddenly diagnosed with cancer. And that was a 4th stage ovarian cancer. And Bhaiya just said that come back. And we had our Disney, Paris and other things. And we just shut everything and we flew down back to Mumbai. I think this was in May, Mother's Day. And November we lost her. So those were the 5 months. I think, and I still remember when Hitesh told me about it, the only thing when I was crying in the cruise, I was just crying, continuously howling that Vedyam need more of their Dadi. So I think that was the kind of relationship my kids had with their Dadi. And I think they were pretty young, like they're 18 now, so they must be 12, 13. But they were very close to their Dadi. So I think, and that was
she lived with you, so yeah.
All my life, like.
Yeah. So you didn't live with your mother as a young child, but you lived with your mother-in-law as a adult.
Oh, yeah.
As a bahu, and
she was more like a mother to me because she had only 2 sons. So she used to treat me like a daughter. In fact, she used to treat me above her sons. And I think when I look at my mother, she's more of a mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law was more like a mother in terms of giving a lot of love, unconditional support. No, she was a very selfless person. I think, yeah. And I think Vedyam, that area of their life, they're a little unlucky that they've not got both their grandparents, paternal grandparents. They're lucky from the maternal side. But I was raised in a huge joint family. Like I had my dada, dadi, I had my pardada, dadi, I had my nana, nani, parnana, nanis, and chachas and chachis. So I grew up in a very large family. So I somewhere feel that my kids are missing on to that. love, that fallback, that system, that, I would say that foundation, which is super strong for me.
But your kids are missing out on it, but that's the reality of the world they live in, isn't it?
Yeah. Like
How do you compensate
I
for
was
that?
pregnant, and because my mother was taking care of my dad all the while when I was pregnant, and I was pregnant in year 2006, and my nanny came to live with me to take care of me.
Your nanny.
My nanny. So Vedvyam were born in front of her, and she has taken care of them by living by my side because my mother wasn't available. And so my kids have also got the love of their
Great grandmother.
great grandmother, and and I think that way is they remember all of that, and I think that's wonderful. Like my grandparents have come and lived with me in Mumbai for quite some time, and Hitesh, all of us had a great time with them. So I think somewhere, my kids are not that fortunate because when it comes to as you rightly said, that life is what it is, but then they also have only one Tauji. I have 4 siblings. I have multiple, like I have 14 cousins who are first
Right.
cousins. So we have, but of course, when they come there, they experience all of that.
But you know what's
Wholehearted.
really interesting, Neha, is that you as an individual grew up with a large family, huge family,
And Hitesh,
without
married only 17 salis he had. 17. And I'm
17.
the eldest. Like, he was a happy man.
And they were happy to get all the money.
Yeah, and in fact, the best part about my cousins also, siblings also, Meenakshi, is that because my dad was the eldest, my mother's the eldest, and their family, I was the eldest one.
Right.
So even all my cousins, like wherever they are, like we are like 40, 45 of us, and they all look up to me as that elder sister. So I think I was always surrounded by this, bunch who just wanted to do whatever I'll tell them to do. So
And I think that's why you set up Unimo. So you could actually have a bunch of people around you who you could instruct.
Possibly. I think it's so right. See, being a manifestation coach, I've always talked about the childhood stories. Like when I talk about money manifestation also, Meenakshi, I always say that whatever your relationship with money is today, it's because of your money stories, your childhood money stories. And the childhood stories or childhood, nowadays they also call it trauma, everything, goes back to your childhood. And in your childhood, the person who can impact your childhood or childhood stories are the ones who have a say in that house. So even if there is a Taiji who used to,
Be the
head of the
dominant.
family or the
Yeah.
dominant one, whatever is your money relationship today will be defined by those stories which were created. And similarly, what you become as a human is also somewhere your own childhood.
Absolutely. It's all part of
The
your.
career you choose, what you're
Correct.
comfortable in, your ikigai eventually.
Yeah.
Like ikigai is giving you the joy. What gives you joy?
Yeah.
Like your definition of joy will be very different from my definition of joy. But how do we know what is my definition of joy?
How do you
Comes from
discover that?
Yeah, it comes from your why. How to know
Right.
your why.
Yeah.
So you know your why when you know your own self. And your own self is built by your own childhood experiences, your stories, your ecosystem people who you were growing up with. All those people contribute to your joy.
So one of the interesting themes that has been coming up again and again is that we end up becoming our parents. Right?
Yeah.
As we grow older, you can see shades of our parents in us.
Even though we want to deny it sometimes.
Correct. But the thing is, if we know we are following in their footsteps, then we can do something about it. What's your view on this?
I somewhere agree to that thing, Meenakshi, because though as I added, that a lot many times we don't want to be like them.
Correct.
Because when we now look at them from a lens where we have understood a little bit more about, positive parenting or, positive life, we come with a lot of filters today and we can, look back and try to correct a lot of things. But somewhere, as I was talking to you, that somewhere because in your childhood story, your parents are the biggest influence.
Heroes.
Yeah. In fact, if not heroes, even influence. Like I've seen a lot of toxic parents. Like I was talking to one woman who has a mother. And when on Mother's Day, on our community, it's like a festival. We celebrate mothers. And she came to me and she's one of her head. And she came to me and she said, Neha, why do we edify mothers so much? And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like I had a very toxic parent. And I don't want to talk about her. In fact, whenever you guys, ask us to give a happy Mother's Day message, I'm hurt. I come from a place where I don't even want to do that for any mother of the world. And when I heard her story, I understand where she's coming from. And somewhere I want to just reiterate as a community builder, especially coming from a mother's community, that mothers or fathers are equally human as all of us. And sometimes they might,
Slip up.
yeah, slip up. They might do something which in your eyes are not the right things to do. Live with it. We all do it, right? We all slip up. So I think somewhere glorifying parents is we should, refrain from. Treat them like some wonderful people, who have done great job of parenting you, but they might not be like I always averse when people introduce me by saying super mom because I'm a mother's community builder, and I always take out that adjective because super mom is a myth, Minaki.
Correct.
It's a trap. They put us into it.
That's
So
bad.
do not even succumb to it.
Tell more about the supermom trap.
Okay, so as you all know that, men and women have their brain wired very differently. And many times, women take pride in saying, I'm a multitasker. And a lot of mothers come to me and say, oh, I'm so good at multitasking, or I'm bad at multitasking. And if they're bad at it, they're like very sad about it. And I always tell them that, you should not take pride in saying I'm a multitasker. Like even if you go to neurologists and psychologists, and they'll tell you it's brainstorming. So it's considered as a disorder and not a, proud fact. So somewhere anybody who's a unitasker can, have his or her productivity shoot up better. They can do better, at their work. How this multitasking got glorified, it is also somewhere one coin of the supermom coin, wherein mothers used to do multiple things at one time and people used to appreciate them, thinking if you appreciate people doing what they're doing, they'll
do more.
of it. Okay? And
So it's a scam.
it is a scam. And it can be, honey trap, I agree, but it can also be, something which mothers have to look into. See, when I'm doing my office work and I'm folding clothes because I'm working from home, it's a mundane task you're doing with a productive task. It's not called multitasking. If you're doing that, kudos to you, keep doing that. If you're doing two important tasks together, dude, you should
Won't
know.
work.
But yeah, it won't work. It won't. You'll not be able to give your 100% to it. Like you're watching your favorite Netflix thing, and you can you do your most important presentation? You can't, right? So whoever takes pride in saying I'm a multitasker have to revisit their task. So instead, follow Pomodoro technique, do a 7-minute capsule, do break work. I think supermoms, there's nothing called supermoms. Nobody is a super something. That's why you have to go to a.
But so many of these myths are actually developed by a patriarchal perspective on life,
Yes,
isn't it?
all of them.
All of them.
That's why I said it's a scam. It's a very defined structure they put us into very smartly. It's a scheming. Wherein, like my Dadaji, who's a disciplinarian, very strong man, but always had the last word. Okay? Very learned man. But if you ever question his, beliefs, he was very stern about it. To that extent, he'll not even agree to it. Even if you die, he'll not agree to it. He was that stern. So somewhere these kind of men, of course I love my grandpapa a lot, but then I was always against his, hardcore patriarchal beliefs. Like he'll not even allow my dadi to stand on our bungalow's gate.
Yeah.
So what is this? Like, what are you trying to say? Now, there are two smart people. Like when my Dadaji will say, listen, don't do this. This is not okay. Like Pratishtha, Parampara. And then there's another set of, I would say, metrosexual men, which is coming today, where a lot of wives who are, these wives of these rich husbands who are already, doing very good in their career, they don't even want their wives to go and pursue anything in their own life, except doing an interior designing course and sitting at home.
Or a fashion boutique.
Yeah, a fashion boutique, because those professions will keep them home.
Correct.
So that's also a smarter Dadaji. I was
Absolutely.
who's just trying to play
A modern,
more smart.
a little modern.
So the schemes, the rules, the patriarchy still remains the same, Meenakshi. The only way they're packaging is it more smartly. So nowadays, a lot of my friends take pride in saying, my husband loves me so much, he doesn't want me to do anything. And I'm like, darling, you're in a bad
Wake
place.
up.
Yeah.
Smell the coffee.
Smell the coffee. So true.
Brilliant.
I always tell, like I was talking on a panel for financial independence, and I was talking to women, and I said, the biggest service you'll do to yourself is earn your own money. If you're married to a wrong guy, you have to earn your money, and you all know it. But if you're married to a right one, there's all the more reason to go out and earn your money.
Wonderful. Talking of money, have you and your parents ever had the money talk?
So I personally feel that unlike any other family in India, money discussions are a hush hush, And I think till now, like when I'm earning my own money, my parents have their own money, we don't really openly discuss money. It's so unfortunate.
But isn't that a problem? Because,
Yes.
yeah, and if you raise it, they will feel, oh, she's after our money. If you don't raise it, it gets hidden under the carpet. What about among your siblings?
Yeah,
Would
my
the four of
siblings are
you
very
talk about
this? So my siblings are very strong-headed. Like my brother has been always telling Mama, Papa that you should write a will, you should distribute everything amongst four of us. And I'm like, I don't need anything. You guys decide. And my sister's like, why do you say that? Because when you say that, they'll keep us separate.
correct?
And that's the only time we've ever discussed money. And being a money manifestation coach, I've always told people to discuss money upfront. But in my own household,
You can't do it.
I have not done it.
So are you going to do it now?
I think yes, Meenakshi, in today's conversation, you've given me a lot of points where I've started pondering on right now. Also, I'm thinking about it. And I think there are some things which we should at least start. And I think by talking about it, we've already taken a step one.
Absolutely. And that's the whole idea of this podcast. I mean, here's a woman of the world, a career woman who's built an incredible business, who's financially so strong and stable, who's found her emotional stability and emotional resilience, who's a lighthouse, I would say, showing the light to hundreds of thousands of women. But even she is pulling back from having some conversations. Neha, what is the advice that you would like to give our viewers? Is there anything that you would like to share with them from your experience which has helped you cope with aging parents?
I think I'll take a leaf from in the title of your podcast, Raising Parents. I personally feel that we are so busy raising our kids that we forget that we have one more responsibility in terms of maybe not physically, not financially, what we all think. They say in in our dharma that man, vachan, karma, all three things can be considered as a give back.
Correct.
And sometimes karma mein to we all want to do a lot for our parents. At times they don't even need you, but you still want to do it. Man and vachan, we sometimes take it for granted. Especially when our parents are independent, they're living their own life. We sometimes take them for granted. So my advice to each and everyone who's watching this podcast is whatever, till the time your phone has a, buzz saying mama calling or papa calling, you're still a fortunate one. You're still a lucky one. Because ask those people who do not have that number flashing anymore. So I don't think we should wait till that time that we have our own learnings and then we, understand this. I think balancing, I think raising kids along with raising parents comes hand in hand. And I think if you're a wonderful mother, you can be an equally wonderful daughter. And when I say that, it doesn't come from a place of taking care of your parents or, just be a helicopter daughter to them. It is more from understanding what they are going through at this point of time. They are experiencing what you have not experienced till now.
Correct.
They're going through a very different phase. They are going through their own challenges, which at times you'll not even understand. Because you, like today, when you said that I'm becoming more like my mother, I understand it only when I've seen that phase in my life. So my advice to all the people who are watching this is, of course, we can't live that phase right now, but we can live with them. And I think what your platform is doing here, Meenakshi, is trying to wake us up in that light. When I have spoken to you, I've learned so much in those conversations in my FB lives with you that I personally feel that, if you don't know how to do it, just go and trust an expert. Go and enroll with them. Just download the app and you'll have the entire gamut open up for you. Like you never told me, but I bought that subscription for my parents because I found it so meaningful. Like I was talking to Sandeep Soparkar and when my mother heard that she's dancing with Sandeep, she was so excited.
Correct.
So I think going to an expert who has been in that phase, who has experienced about it, who has researched about it, these are the people who can tell you what to do. Just go to them, or either learn it from them and go back and implement it in your household. And trust me, your parents will be very, very thankful for it, because sometimes we feel we know it all, but we don't.
And from somebody who's honest and acknowledges that sometimes we feel we know it all, but we don't, I'd like to say that this entire podcast is about the journey of discovery. This podcast is about knowing that just because you don't know it doesn't mean you're an incompetent child or an incompetent parent. These are skills you need to learn. And thank you, Neha, for this incredible, heartwarming sharing of your experience of your life. I think, as far as I'm concerned, I too have learned something from our interactions. And
Thank
I
you.
look
It's my pleasure, and I always learn from you so much. And I think it's been a wonderful conversation with you, Meenakshi. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Neha.